Welcome to Season 2 of the Fall Guys podcast. We look forward to this season to bringing you the stories of those coaches who have continued to make an impact in the state of Wisconsin. We also look forward to bringing you the stories of those coaches who have won state championships this past year. Along with our state championship coaches, we're looking forward to bringing you the stories of some of our coaches who have decided to step away and retire from the game. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tommy Shinsky, head football coach at Onalaska High School. My co-host is Matt Kimmis, the offensive coordinator at DeForest High School. If you have a coach you think that we should interview, let us know in the comments or hit us up on Twitter. Coaches, encourage your athletes to get signed up for the 2022 WFCA Combine held April 30th at Next Level in Waukesha. The WFCA Combine is the premier scouting combine in the state of Wisconsin to get your athletes in front of hundreds of college coaches. To sign up, go to wifca.org/combine. Welcome on this week's episode of the WFCA Fall Guys podcast. We have Rocky and Reggie Larson. Rocky and Reggie Larson are the sons of Somerset head coach Bruce Larson. Rocky, Reggie, you guys grew up around your dad, the coach. What were some of those early memories that you guys remember being around and being a part of the football team?
So the first thing for me is growing up. I wasn't always when I was alive. He wasn't always the head coach. You know, he was the assistant coach under Brad Nimick. Took over in '99, and his first years they weren't very good. You know, they struggled. Made them move to the middle border. But I remember waking up, painting fields, watering fields, just being by his side and being a ball boy on some of those teams. And then the special year when I was 9 years old. Reg would have been 6. The 2002 team of making it, last game of the season, they played in Richmond and lose by 40 in the conference title game. And then they're ripping off 5 straight, turning the ball over 1 time in 5 games and winning a state title. That was the first real memory I ever had. And Reg, you probably can, a little different story, but the story of, they played Boyceville in the first round and they're all fired up, the number 1 seed, number 1 team in the state, and Dad packs a shovel on the bus and says, "We're gonna take a piece of their dirt with us after we win, and we're gonna put it on our field, and we'll be able to play with their turf the rest of the year." And he did it. I mean, after the fans leave, he goes out and he takes a shovel and takes a corner out of the end zone. And there's Boyceville people that probably listen that still know exactly what I'm talking about. But just incredible runs. One that I think everyone can appreciate would be, his runs were 2002, 2004, 2005, and then Reg, 2012?
We won it in 12. Yep, we won it in 12, and then they went to the semifinals in 13, and then won it in 14 again. So
if you notice, there's a window there from 2006 to 2011, and I was his quarterback for 4 years. So, he had all the success and playing for my dad. I never got to play in a state championship. I never had that opportunity. So it was talked about around Thanksgiving, just about every opportunity possible.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think my brother brought up some pretty good ones there. I was young enough that I always remember him just being the head coach. So just like stupid stuff like climbing the field goal post at practice. And if you knew my dad, us climbing those were getting more use than him kicking PATs because they were never going to do it anyway. And then I remember the snowy practice the day before the state championship. I can't remember where we were practicing, but that memory always just is vivid in the back of my head.
Verona High School.
That's where it was. And it was cold. It was a total blizzard.
And they were getting ready to play John Hoke, who had 36 formations, and he is just every bad word under the sun to John Hoke, who is one of his good buddies. I remember sitting in that meeting. He goes, "We can't defend 4 formations. How the heck do you want us to defend 36?" And he's just swearing at John Hoke all night. And it's like Reg said, it was 10 inches of snow, and they're practicing for 2.5 hours when they play the next day. It's like, yeah, you can't. What are you doing? But
Yeah. So that memory is always vividly in my mind. And then Rocky, what he kind of talked about was just like the painting the practice fields. And I think that's still something that maybe some younger coaches don't fully understand that has to get done. But Rocky and I always joke around. We tell the story because I don't know what it is at other places, but my dad would have an ice cream bucket with concrete poured in it. And there was a little dowel in there, and we had to go find the four corners of the end zone. And sometimes it would take us a couple hours just to find them. And then Rocky and I would pull the string and he would paint the line, and Rocky and I would pull the string and he'd paint the line, and then we'd mix more paint. And that's kind of always the way I knew it. And that was kind of his Father's Day gift is we were going to paint the practice field.
And he never told us we were going to paint the practice field. He told us we were going to Dairy Queen, get in the car, and you show up at the practice field and here you are painting fields again. It's like he was just really good at that type of stuff. And I think one of the things that my mom would appreciate, and Reg would too, like he refused to ever take care of his lawn at home. Like our lawn is brutal, but you go to the practice or you go to the game field, and it's the nicest grass field in the state most times. And he would fertilize it. He would mow it. He would water it. No one touched that field but him. But he wouldn't take care of his own front yard. It's just
Did you at least get Dairy Queen after painting? Like, did they ever make it to Dairy Queen?
Most of the time we were so mad, we're like, get us home and let us be 10 and 11-year-olds again. But, yeah, I mean, he was really good at that type of stuff.
I have to ask about the turf incident with the shovel. So that was at Boyceville?
Boyceville, 2002, 35-7.
Was there bad blood or something that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know the history, obviously.
They would have went. Dad was all mad that they were playing at Boyceville because the field was all beat up, and Somerset had just lost, and Boyceville was #1 team in the state. And on the old days, the WISPorts chat board where everyone's running their mouth, and Dad would print those things off and hang them in the locker room every chance he got. And no chance. Boyceville wins by 4 scores. And Dad packed a shovel, and it's talked about. If you go back and you listen to his celebration of life, Andrew Newman, that's one of the most vivid memories of that state championship run. Is once everyone leaves, they load the bus and they get off the bus with a garbage bag. They take a piece of the end zone, and then they go that night and plant it at their game field, and said they'll be with us the rest of the year. And he had all types of stories like that.
That is just phenomenal, and it's awesome. It's awesome to say you're going to do it. 2, it's awesome to do it. And that was back in the day where you got, if you weren't one of the top 4 seeds, you just had to play whoever. So you could have been the second best team maybe, and had a loss that just bumped you down to the 5th seed, and then you got to go play the #1 seed right away.
Absolutely.
So, awesome. That's a phenomenal story.
Fellas, your father was an amazing football coach, but to the city of Somerset, he was much, much more than just a coach. In what ways did you see your dad making a difference off the field in the community?
I think the big one that immediately comes to mind is driver's ed, is because he was a driver's ed instructor through the school when it was still offered through Somerset, and then he ended up owning his own business, bumper to bumper school driving. So he loved doing that. He was crazy about it. Like, he was taking kids from Hudson, he was taking kids from all over the place, even if it meant he had to drive a little bit longer to go get them. He would make sure that he would do that, and really, like, his overall community kind of persona, I guess you would say, is he was just in the business of making people's lives better. And really, football was his vehicle. His vehicle could have been a multitude of different things. His just happened to be football. And he was someone that went about it and doing things the right way. And I think that's what people really gravitated towards about it, is he saw, or people in the community saw, like, yes, they're having the success, but it wasn't always about winning. It was about the Spartan values. It was about doing things the correct way. And it wasn't just a football thing. Like, he brought other people in and wanted to see success for everybody. And it wasn't just the stud running back there, the stud fullback that was scoring all the touchdowns. Maybe it was that female 10th grader in weight training class that didn't always feel like she fit in, and giving that person attention. Like, he was just a truly genuine person. I think a lot of people saw that and kind of resonated with that, and saw a lot of support through that.
I got a little bit different one than Reg does here, because I was a okay baseball player, and I liked baseball more than I liked football. To be honest with you, that was my dream, is playing college baseball. And when I came up as a freshman, I was lucky enough to be on the varsity team, and we were 4-22. We were awful, and it drove him nuts. And in that second year, we improve. We get to 6-19, and we're playing in a brutal stadium. I mean, it's awful. And my dad gets together. He calls all the parents together. He said, "We're gonna build Somerset a baseball stadium." So, all right, whatever. So he raises $50,000-$60,000, puts in a scoreboard, puts in a water fountain, puts in dugouts, and now Somerset has a beautiful baseball stadium that a lot of people don't realize. Bruce Larson's the one that started that whole fundraising project because we needed a baseball stadium. Did he coach baseball? Yeah, for 2 years, 1988 to 1990. He hadn't coached baseball in 20 years. But his thing was how can I make Somerset athletics better? How can I make Somerset the community better? And what do we have to do here? If it means we need a softball field, then we're going to go raise money to get a softball field. And I think that's where a lot of people see him as this giant of a coach and had a lot of wins and state championships. But deep down, he loves Somerset athletics. He loves Somerset High School. He loves Somerset community. He loved his driver's ed business. But for him to go out and raise that money for a baseball stadium, I thought that was a really cool thing for a head football coach to do.
I think John O, when we were off the air, when I was talking to him, hit it on the head, and he said, Somerset hasn't won a ton of games of late in football.
Yep.
He said, but even so, not one single person in that community has gone to administration and said we need to make a change. And that's powerful in today's day and age because people don't get a lot of leash anymore. If you're not winning, no matter, and sometimes it doesn't matter what else you're doing. If you're not winning, people want to change because to a lot of people, it's only about the wins and losses. But to that community, it wasn't. It was about what he did, all encompassing, not just on Friday nights.
I think that you hit the nail on the head there. And I always joked with him, and I can say it. I mean, after he won the NFL trophy, I said you should have gave that thing back because you never got any. You struggled after that. But the biggest thing I think is in his visitation was people wanted their sons and daughters to be coached by Bruce Larson. It didn't matter about wins and losses. They wanted their sons to the life lessons and the core values. And you hit it in the profession. I'm in college football. If I don't win, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm not going to be able to keep a job. And in today's day and age, it is so rare. I don't know if we'll see it again. I don't know where you can have 6 seasons like that and not have some. And the AD, the principal, they never had one person. And they talked about that, which isn't, that's crazy to me in the day that we live in and the parents and the instant gratification to not have someone question. And, he started to adapt the way he operated down the stretch because it was driving him nuts. But like you guys know, you coach high school, you can't control who you get. And he had a bad run of a few kids and didn't have the numbers. And it didn't sound like he forgot how to coach. He continued just to instill life lessons and grow boys into men and grow them into better fathers and better business. And I think that's a lot more power than winning football games. And I wish we'd get back to that a little bit as society.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes we need to broaden our focus a little bit and not be so narrow-minded on the wins and losses. Both of you have become coaches. Obviously, your father had a lot of influence in that. What did he tell you? What did you learn from him about the game that kind of made it your passion as well?
I can start here, Reg. So I was I remember this conversation to a T. I was a senior in high school. I had just gone to the doctor. I tore my L4, L5, L5, and I was born with an L6. And I needed back surgery if I was going to continue to play college football or if I wanted a chance. And at the time, it was a 20% chance of paralyzation. And I wanted to play college sports. And Dad sat me down. He said, I'm not putting you through a back surgery. I'm not doing it at 18 years old for a 20% chance of paralyzation. He said, you're going to go into coaching. And I got you. You're going to River Falls. I got you in with John O'Grady. John O's going to take you. He's going to take you as a student coach. And you're going to go that direction because you need to be involved in the game. Because if you don't have football, I'm not a very, I mean, I was a 17, 18 ACT kid. I'm not a bright, but I graduated with a 3.2 and I graduated my master's because of football. And because my dad, he encouraged me to go coach college football. And at the time I wanted to be a high school. I wanted to follow exactly what he did. And he said his biggest regret was he never coached college football. And I said, well, I'm all right. If that's his biggest regret and he's this giant and that's the guy I look up to, I was going to give it everything I could to learn how to coach college football. And, you guys can attest to this. It's the best profession in the world. We get to coach young men in a game of physicality that we all love. And he did a great job explaining that to me and Reg. And I think it's a powerful, in a day and age where society doesn't all, I mean, it's the one place where you can still grow men and continue to get every ounce out of them. And he really instilled that into me at a young age. And that's why I never got to play college football. But at the same time, he had opportunities set up that would make me successful along the way.
Yeah, and I would say there was never any pressure put on either one of us. Like it wasn't like, well, I coach high school football. You guys are going to go do this because this is what I want you to do. It was never anything like that. Like Rocky and I just kind of gravitated towards it naturally because we saw kind of the impact that he was having on people, and that's something that we wanted to do. And I can really remember a conversation I had with him. I was fortunate to play 4 years of college football at River Falls, and we got a little better each year, but we weren't like a great team. We ended up going 4-6 my senior year, and we knew when our last practice was going to be. And I remember right before going out to that last practice, I called him and I'm in tears because I'm like, Dad, this has been the biggest part of my life for 8 years. What am I going to do after this? I don't know if I can do it. I don't know what's going to happen. And he was really straight up with me. And he was essentially said, just because you're done playing football doesn't mean football is done to you. And he said, your role might change within the game. But I would argue that it's going to be for a much bigger impact than what you served for as a player. And that was a conversation that really stuck with me. And I never really thought about it in that way. But it's something that I've always gone back on and really, it kind of puts things in perspective. Like, because when you're playing in high school, you're playing in college, you think it's the end all be all, but really it's the impact that you can continue to have beyond that and passing what you've learned on to other kids, so you can let them have a successful career as well. So I just, like I said, I saw the impact that he had on your run-of-the-mill 16-year-old kid that was struggling to fit in places and giving him a spot and turning him into a pretty good player. And really at an early age, I saw, hey, that looks pretty cool. That's something that I want to do.
I think the part that's missed on Dad at times is he was really good at doing with kids, Reg, but he was also really doing that with his staff. He'd always have 2 or 3 staff members on staff. You're like, Dad, what are you doing? These guys don't know football. But he did a great job of making them included and making them a part of the day-to-day Somerset culture. And, here you say passion for the game, and a little bit off subject here, but one thing that he was really passionate about was the Shrine game. The guy wouldn't miss a Shrine game. He was a head coach. He was coaching it. And as I took over at Mayville State up here, the big thing he told me, he said, North Dakota's got a Shrine game, big deal. And he helped me orchestrate being able to get the Shrine game to Mayville, North Dakota. That's a massive deal. And that just goes to show he loved football at all levels. He had passion about it. And it didn't matter. He loved Shrine Week because it was the middle of July and he could go watch high school football and sit and talk to the coaches and learn and sit with Pat Cerrone and Luke and those guys at Oshkosh. And what a great experience. And he loved all that stuff.
And he was the only guy with enough courage to go put the triple option in at the Shrine game and go win the thing, because the North hadn't won it in so long because they're playing against the South, and he goes and puts it in. I think it was him and Jed. I think Jed was on the other side of the DC, right?
I was his quarterback.
Okay,
that game. So
Joel Sweeney, right? Joel Sweeney was the running back. Yep.
So here's a good one. I'd never met Jed Kennedy, and we walk in. My dad and Jed poking at each other. I was like, I had no idea. He said, "Rocky, Jed Kennedy, All-American nose tackle." I was like, "Oh, really?" Shake his hand and he goes, "Lars?" I was like, "Goddamn All-American linebacker. I'm not in that shape anymore, but stop telling people I played D-line." So, those two went back and forth. That was incredible. But there are some stories from that one that you could sit all night and tell.
Reggie, you had mentioned, the message being to pass stuff down from your dad. How would you guys say that your respective coaching styles compare to your father's?
I would say like the idea of like all the values and like maintaining a standard and kind of the Spartan creed, that's all stuff that I've kind of tailored a little bit to what we do, and how we go about training leadership and really talking about it and having open, direct conversations and things like that. But I do think there are some vastly different things that we do as well, like practice structure and like strength and conditioning, and overall like staff meetings. Yes, there are things that
you should stop there, Reg. And you should explain his practice structure in his staff meetings.
Long.
He doesn't have a practice plan. He writes things on a note card, and whenever he wants to blow the whistle, you switch drills. And that was the way it was forever. And me and Reg would give him a practice plan, like, here, Dad, hey, every 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to switch the drill. I don't need that. I don't need it.
Worked on the clock of progress, not on the clock of time.
And staff meetings every Sunday night for 4 hours. And it's like, well, based on when the Packers played, but yep. I mean, he would sit in there for 4 hours, 5 hours every Sunday night. But sorry to cut you off, but I think it's important people understand why it's different. It's significantly different of how we operate, and trying to get the old man to understand that there's a different way to do this. It never worked.
But if there's one thing, his coaching style that if you could ask any person about, if there was a point to be made, he made sure that he made it, and he made sure that it was crystal clear. And you could use the term beating a dead horse, because you would understand it, and then he would probably tell you 10 more times, whether it was good, bad. If you made a mistake, it was very, very clear if that were the case.
I think from my perspective, coaching styles, I got into college right away so I was a freshman coaching safety. So I had a different outlook on everything. And he always told me, Rocky, go learn how to coach defense. I wanted to be an offensive. I mean, everyone grows up wanting to be an offensive guru nowadays. He said, someone's going to have to learn how to stop these guys, and they're going to pay someone a lot of money to be able to stop these guys who think they know it all. He said, go learn how to coach defense. So ever since that day, I've been on the defensive side of the ball. And I think Reg can appreciate this. And you guys that know the daunted triple option of Bruce Larson days, and I assume you got his last year, he's in the shotgun. I don't know if you guys were knowing that. He was doing some of the gun triple option stuff and reading the front side end and running his quarterback, and he's throwing the ball 10 times a game, and he went out and met with the Ferris State staff. Well, in January, so a month before he passed away, he said, Rock, I need to come up there and I want to teach you some pass protection stuff. I said, Dad, I am not going to listen to you about pass protection when you've been in 4-point stance and coming off the ball for the last 28 years, and you've been to one clinic and you think you know how to pass protect. Like, well, I really think we got some good pass drill work that you could use. I said, you can come up here, but like, I'm not going to learn pass game from you. I can learn it from a lot of other people. I'll learn how to run game and come off the ball, but there's better ways to do it. But yeah, I think I echo. Go ahead.
I'm guessing he didn't have a segment timer with him either, though, at the end, hey?
Oh, no. And when me and Reg played, there was multiple nights that you see the movies with the car lights coming on. I mean, car lights were on, or what would really, it'd be late in the year, and you're practicing for 2:15 back before all the rules, and he'd say, we're heading to the game field, turn the lights on. It's like, God, what are we doing? And, like towards the end of his time, I think Reg has a strength background and kind of just understanding player, you don't have to be in full pads on Thursday, and trying to understand but he was old school in everything he did.
Reggie, you had the opportunity to actually coach against your father a couple of times here the past couple of years. What was that experience like? What was that game week? What was that like? Where did Mom sit during those games?
Yeah, and I actually played for my dad. I actually coached on his staff for 1 year when I was graduated. I was done playing at River Falls and still had 1 semester left of student teaching, living at home, and then I actually got to coach against him. And honestly, this will probably be a better question for Rocky, and I'll let him talk a little bit. But because there was a time that first year when we played, I was actually living at home. So we had 2 head coaches under the same roof, and we'd come home from practice and we're getting ready to play each other, and we're sitting down and having dinner, and he would always start it. Well, how'd practice go tonight? Good. How'd it go for you guys? That was all right. And then that was the end of our dinner time conversation. So I would be down in the basement drawing scout cards. He'd be up on the main floor, and we had 2 different game plans going on, and 2 head coaches under the same roof. So that was pretty interesting. And really, as it kind of went on, because we did get to play a couple times, and I thought it was cool at first, but then like after that first year, it was something that I really grew to not like, and it was something that we were going to get out of. Like it was cool for publicity. It was cool for kids to get a bigger game for them if that was the reason, so be it. But really, it wasn't something that I looked forward to. And I don't think it's something that he looked forward to as well. We would rather work together and try to help each other out instead of trying to find ways to beat each other. So it wasn't my favorite, would be the best way I'd put it. And mom would Rock. I can't even tell you where mom was sitting. Rocky always said he would stand in the end zone right behind the goalpost. So he had 50% of his body on the Richmond side and 50% on the Somerset side.
I can talk on this topic for quite a while, because I mean, the first year, like I said, Reggie's living downstairs, Dad living on the main floor, and Mom's sleeping on the 3rd floor. So you got the whole Larson clan, and every week Reggie would call me and talk about his game plan and who he was playing, and Dad would call me, and all of a sudden it's Sunday night and I haven't heard from either of them. And all of a sudden now it's Monday and I haven't heard from either of them. And I'm sitting with my wife. I said, "Who's calling me first?" Because one of them's calling. And Dad called Monday night. He goes, "Rock, how we doing?" I said, "Well, I'm good. How are you?" "Well, we play your brother this week." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I got that. I know you're playing the Larson boys." "Yeah, they're good. I don't know if we can beat them." I said, "No, yeah." He said, "Well, maybe talk to your brother." I said, "Nope." "Well, if he calls you, call me and let me know what he's up to." And hung up. And then Reg calls and said, "Hey, have you talked to Dad?" It's like, "Yeah, I mean, you two live in the same house, and you guys are calling me as I'm trying to coordinate a defense at River Falls." He said, "Well, what's Dad got to say?" I said, "Well, Dad said you guys are good and you got a chance." He goes, "Yeah, he does a lot of different stuff. We're changing our defense up this week. He's never going to see it coming." So now I got information from Reg. Dad calls back the next day. He goes, "Hey, we're changing our defense." And he gets me on FaceTime. He doesn't know how to FaceTime. And we're going to play 2-2s. We're going to stack the backers. He's thinking we're going to have a 0. So I now know on Wednesday that Reggie switched his defense and Dad has switched his defense, but they're both offensively around what's going to happen to the other person's defense. I'm sitting here like, this is what is going on. I said, "What, have you guys talked or what's going on?" He said, No, Dad's sticking to himself this week, and I'm just kind of staying downstairs, and hopefully he's not coming through my note cards and notebook downstairs while I'm not there." And it's like, you're ahead. You got to get out of the house, Reg, like at some point. So we get there. I get to the game, and I see them. They're both pregame lined up in exactly what opposite of what they tell me they're going to. And I look at Reg for a snap, and he comes out in a different defense, and Dad's all ticked off. And then opposite, and Dad jumps out 20-0, doesn't he?
Yeah, that sounds right. I
can't
20-0. Affair.
It's 20-0 at the end of the first quarter, and I'm standing at the goalpost, and my mom was standing on Reggie's side because that's her second son, and Dad doesn't get to beat up. And Mom calls me. She says, "Hey, can you go over and tell your dad to take it easy on Reggie?" It's like, I'm not going to do that in the second quarter, but I start walking over to the Somerset sideline, and Dad looks at me and goes, "Teaching him a lesson tonight." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, I'm not cheering for Dad. I'm going to cheer for Reg." So by the time it's the third quarter, I'm standing on Reggie's sideline, and Reg comes back and wins the game, 42-41?
It was 42-40, a thriller.
And Dad went for 2.
I can't remember what the plays were down the stretch, but it was a high scoring affair.
So you can imagine Thanksgiving. I think Reg was right. The first 2 were really fun. But then, Reg, one thing he can say that not many people in the state of high school football can say is he's 3-0 against Bruce Larson. So I think it's a pretty cool thing to put his feather in his cap. And I reminded Dad of that every time I saw him, just like he reminded me of never winning a state championship.
Those are just incredible stories. You better be careful with the notebooks laying around, Reggie. That was the same thing going through my head as well. It's like, who knows? Maybe Mom's going down to check laundry, and all of a sudden, what's What's that?
Look what
Maybe
I
some
found.
prying eyes, and he's got her on maneuvers. So
Did you game each
Holy
other at
cow.
all? Like, did you ever leave some fake crap laying around the house, like to try and throw them off?
It did cross my mind. It never ended up getting to that, but I'm like, gosh, I wonder how does he ever just come down here? If I just left this on like his nightstand, would he ever? How serious would he take that?
better practice empty this week, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And now I got Reggie's quarterback, who was the quarterback in the Larson Bowl. He's our starting quarterback up here. So the stories he has of that week are all, I mean, it's just what a cool event. And it was awesome for the family. And deep down, I had no idea. Like, first quarter, I really didn't care who won. But as the game went, it's like, man, it'd be cool if little Reg beat Dad, beat the big guy.
And we were reeling at the time because I kind of got hired late and we didn't really know what was going on. And we were 1-4 at the time. And we needed a win. So and my dad would have told you that too. He said they were okay that year. But I needed that one to get a little bit of traction going for me personally here at Richmond. So it was good that happened.
Incredible. Fellas, what is your greatest football memory that you had with your father? Otherwise, are there any traditions that, as a family kind of revolved around football other than what we've discussed so far?
Every Black Friday, we were at the Minnesota State Championship games in the end zone, sneaking peanuts in and as much candy as you could into his jacket, because he would sit down there and he wouldn't move forever. We'd go to the Wisconsin State Championships Thursday, Friday. We'd get back home. We'd go to school for 1 or 2 days, and then we'd go sit in Minnesota over Thanksgiving. I mean, the guy didn't hunt. He didn't golf. He tried to golf. He was bad. But he didn't do anything. So that's a loaded question, because like our whole relationship is football. And I know people say that, but correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, every phone call, everything was football. And that's not exact. I mean, he would call me. His prep was at 12:45. He would call me up until the day he passed away. Hey, was JJ Davison at weights this morning? He's our good receiver. I said, yeah, Dad, he was there. All right, good. Make sure he's going to class, and we're going to need him next year. I know, like, he's an all-conference receiver and had 1,000 yards as a freshman. Thanks for letting me know that we needed him back. But every call was directed towards football and how can I help, and I'm just a resource here. So, Reg, you can.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really good ones. I mean, my senior year, we ended up winning the state championship. It was storybook fashion. I was senior, Dad's the head coach. We just lost in double overtime in the finals the year before and ended up winning in overtime. So that always makes a nice story. But I would argue that's not even at the top of it, And I think if you would ask him what made him the most proud, it was when I was playing at River Falls. It's when Rocky was coaching at River Falls, and it's when my sister was helping managing at River Falls, and Dad came to all the spring ball practices and somehow found his way onto the sideline during Falcon game days. Mom would be up in at the 50-yard line. And I just look at that whole senior year of our college football season with Rocky being the defensive coordinator and me having a chance to play. That was really cool. And I think that is something that with him playing at River Falls, kind of that whole lineage was a really nice, I don't want to say tribute, but looking back on it, it lined up really well.
That was awesome.
Transpired. And then just like more recently, like my dad and I, because our first game's always in the summer, we would always get lunch before our first game. That was always something that we started to do. That was pretty cool. I can vividly remember us just driving up to Mayville, and it's not a short drive to Mayville from here. It's like 3.5, 4 hours. And there'd be times when I wouldn't have even committed to going, and we're done watching film on a Saturday morning, and Dad pulls in my driveway. Hey, you want to go to Mayville? I'm like, well, I got a lot of game plan. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go today. He's like, well, if you don't go, I'm going by myself. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to make you do that. So I would end up getting in the car and going to Mayville, and then we'd go up and watch Rock. And there was a lot of that. So, and then he always just had a way of like, I swear he knew when our bus schedule was, but for whatever reason, whenever we had a big game, the minute that bus left, I would always get a phone call from him and saying, well, you guys ready to go? And it's like he knew the exact time that we would leave, that we would be just getting on the road, and he just wanted to check in one last time before we were getting ready to play some big games. So
I got
oh, go ahead.
I got some good ones from. I mean, obviously you got good ones from when you played for him, and I said this at the visitations. Like, I always knew Dad was a big deal, like he's a head coach and he was a Packers head coach of the year and he's won state titles. And every time, me and Reg, we went to the Wisconsin State Clinic. That was our Christmas for, hey, we're going to the state clinic. Dad, I'm 11 years old. Hop in the car, we're going. And you just hang on to his pocket and you meet everyone, so, you have a lot of those memories. The memories I want to speak on, and Reg can attest to these, I'm sure just as much as I can, so hop in here. But since taking over, he always had advice when I was a defensive coordinator. He's had way more advice since I've been a head coach. Some warranted, some not. But he's one of the only guys I know. I'm sitting there this year. We're playing Waldorf. It's a one-score game. And he comes up and taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "What's your 2-point chart say?" It's like, dude, let me talk to the guys upstairs. I don't know. Give me your 2-point chart and let me study it. It's like, Dad, it's 3rd and 8 here. I'm trying to call the defense. What are you doing? He was also, he thought he knew how to manage a clock at the college level, but he forgot the play clock that the Wisconsin, so he'd come up to my ear and he'd tell me, "Hey, you need to take a time out here." I said, "Dad, no, I don't. The play clocks are different." But it was always fun to have him. It's a unique experience to have your father in your ear on a college sideline. And all of a sudden he's over there coaching the O-line on hand placement. And all of a sudden he's coaching the D-line on pass rush, and then after the game, "Hey, why didn't you kick the extra point there? When's the last time you kicked an extra point?" You don't get to question me when you don't get to do it, So it was a unique, really cool experience to be able to. And I have posted a picture on Twitter, one of the best pictures, me and him. But he every time before I'd walk into the locker room, he'd call me over and said, "Hey, here's what you need to do. You need to take a deep breath. Don't go in there hot. Hey, this is how they're responding. I have a feel of the sideline. I have a feel of the kids. This is how I would approach the situation." And I'll miss that. At the time, it drove you nuts because you're like, "Dad, let me coach. I'm finally a head coach and I don't need," but it was always in good intent. And the other thing I'll miss is, if we get beat, we've been complete rebuild. And like Reg said, 15 minutes after the game, you get the phone call. "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm on the bus." "Well, what do you think of today?" "Got beat." "Well, yeah, if you had a special teams coordinator that knew what he was going on, you might have had a chance today." "Yep." "How many minutes a day we work in special teams?" 25. "Well, maybe we should work until we're done and get it figured out, but I'm sick and tired of seeing people return punts on you. What are you doing? And have we ever thought of recruiting a kicker? What are we doing?" "Yeah, I've thought of all that, Dad." So it was always the 45-minute call after the game of everything he would have done different. But he didn't.
And Coach, you probably don't even realize it, but he was down in DeForest and we were making halftime adjustments together and at halftime of our DeForest game this year too. So
I believe it. In fact, I think I saw him on the sideline when we got our highlight film. A couple weeks ago or something back there, I was watching again and I'm like, "Oh shit, there he is. He's on the sideline."
He was down there.
He had a way of finding his way on any college sideline. Didn't matter what one.
We probably should have came on our sideline the next week.
Yeah.
So I'd never met your dad, but I do remember one of my memories was, and whoever makes it to the title game first between you two has to mimic this. I remember watching, it was either 12 or 14, and Sophia Minard or whoever was doing the halftime interview, and here's this guy wearing just, I don't know, like a crew neck or a Carhartt jacket and jeans, and they're interviewing, and I'm like, who coaches in jeans? And they're just, I think he got, I was talking to a guy that I used to coach with us, who works at school. He's a Rice Lake guy, so he's a triple option guy. And that was his fondest memory. He was like, "Remember that state title game we were watching? And Bruce Larson's out there just coaching in jeans. He got done raking the yard and then he just hopped on the bus and he's coaching the state title game." So that I always found that just made me laugh.
And there's a side story to that one. So when he played in his first state championship game in 2002, he told Mom he needed to buy a new pair of jeans because he might be on TV. So he went out and he bought a pair of jeans, and those were his state championship jeans. Those jeans got worn 6 times. I'm not kidding you. 6 times he only wore those at state championships. And if you ever looked at his staff, he took pride in his staff not matching. He took pride in it. You watch him ever since I've been the head coach in Mayville, he wore a blue hat on the sideline. It's like, Dad, what are you doing? And the other thing he took pride in, a lot of people don't know, is he didn't believe in pregame. You go out whenever you want, you get ready, and you come back to the locker room. But coaches aren't going out. We're not going to have a structured, there's no stretching, nothing. So, which is in today's day of coaching is a unique approach. And Reg can attest to this too, but there's 5 or 6 times in his career where he didn't show up until 2 minutes left before kickoff. And that's the way he operated.
Are you saying like to the facility, to the stadium?
Facility, yeah.
Correct.
The bus would roll in with 5 minutes on the game clock. Let's get off and go play.
And his thing was,
that was a Joe Labuda Menominee thing as well. They'd warm up at a school, he'd have friends somewhere nearby. They'd go warm up at some other place and then roll in right, just in time for a coin flip and go beat some people.
Here's the deal though. Dad didn't have, we would warm up at the city park. I mean, we're Point Amory and we're in DeForest in the city park that there's a birthday party going on and we're warming up, and he'd get off the bus and his big thing was, every morning a cheetah wakes up, you think they got to stretch before they run? No, we got to go. That doesn't matter. So he had a unique way of motivating people that was awesome.
Guys, what lessons that you learned through football from your father do you currently pass on to your respective teams?
One sticks out to me. I'll be quick here. Not how much you know, but how much you care and how much you invest into your kids and how much you love your kids and bring that positive attitude every day. And how can I don't know if the guy ever had a bad day. No, I know he did because he'd come home and have a bad day. But at school, I mean, the guy smiled, he was joking, and he had a deep care for every kid who walked into Somerset High School. And I think that's one of the most powerful things is the people I talked to after he passed away were the people that they were getting a D in gym because they didn't participate, but Dad made them do something and he had an impact on their life. I think that's some of the most powerful stuff, and it's just how much you care.
Yeah, the big things that I would take is leadership is probably number one, because every day during lunch, he would always have lunch duty and we'd grab our lunch, and my whole class of 16 or 17 seniors, whatever we had at the time, we'd go down and we'd start watching tape and we'd start talking character ed. And that was every single day for 3 straight years. And that's something that made not only an impact on me, but a lot of the kids in my grade. We would always talk extensively about multi-sport athletes. I still think that's something, especially now as we get closer and closer to some kids wanting to specialize, really pushing that as much on kids as we can.
And he would yell at me, Reg, for not recruiting multi-sport kids. If I recruited a football-only kid, I would get the brunt of that.
Yeah, and just like the overall strength and conditioning philosophy and making sure you're training and not just when it's convenient, but finding a way to make it a priority and just overall doing hard things, in a day and age where it's kind of easy to really kind of take the easy road, or we try to make things, I don't want to say too easy, but rest and recovery is always so valued now. There is still importance in, I'm just going to nut up and go get this thing done. And finding a way to get the job done, even though circumstances aren't ideal, and not just shutting down at the first sign of adversity. And that's something that he really prided on, and really kind of battling through some of that adversity, even though things feel hard. So I'd say those would be the 4 main things.
So for this next one, you've talked a lot to us tonight about, the softball fundraising story and how, people in the community both wanted their sons and daughters to be coached by Bruce Larson. How do you want your father to be remembered by those, inside and outside of the coaching community? Obviously, your dad, Bruce Larson, was an incredibly humble man. But what do you want the community to know that he was too humble to share or brag about?
I can start with this one, Reg. We might be telling the same story. At the visitation, a couple of guys from WFCA, a couple of guys, Wisconsin High School Association, came up to me, and I think me and Reg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we were frustrated that, guy had done everything. How isn't he in the Hall of Fame? And that was something that as I started looking at different guys going into the Hall of Fame, and not trying to compare it, but you look at it, and you're like, how's Bruce Larson not in the Hall of Fame? And John Hoke came up, shook my hand, and he said, "Hey, whenever your dad wants to go in the Hall of Fame, let us know." I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, he's turned it down the last 5 years." I was like, I mean, that's the type of person he was. He didn't want it to be about him. He never wanted the spotlight on him. He wanted it to be about the community. He wanted it to be about his players. He wanted it to be about his family. I thought that was a really powerful moment because he had never told us that ever. And that's the way he wanted it.
Yeah. And I would just say, just a guy that did things the right way and just a truly genuine person, and, culture and values. There's some pretty popular buzzwords among the coaching community, and you sometimes get these people with shady characters and they preach all these things. But everything that my dad talked about and everything that he expected of other people, those weren't things that he turned on when he was around coaches or when he was around players or when he was doing whatever it was in the community. Those are things that he genuinely, full-heartedly believed in, and were reflected in every single aspect of his life. And I know you can kind of get some coach speak on some of that, but that is 100% not the case. And you can say all these values, they don't mean a lot, or everyone's got values, but it wasn't the case. And there's something that he was full sail 100% in on, and really how he truly lived his life from start to finish.
And I think the amount of people that you talk to that I went to graduated high school without Bruce Larson, that went to play at NDSU, that now is a UFC fighter, that now or played professional hockey. And to hear that power coming from these people that were huge in Somerset, and they say, "I went to graduate without your father," that's a powerful statement to him. That's who he was as a person. That's who he was as a man. And Reg hit it on the head. Like, he was that way at home. Like, he held us to those exact same standards. In fact, he was probably harder on us at times than a lot of other people, but I wouldn't change a second of it. He was an unbelievable dad. He was an unbelievable person. He was an unbelievable teacher. That's the other thing that we haven't done. Like, he was a great teacher, taught health and phy ed. And I think that's a really cool way to remember him.
I think authentic is kind of one of the words that kept coming to mind as everybody that I've talked to, that we've had on, and then at the clinic, and Tony Biolo and all those guys, just authentic. Like, he was a man of his word. He didn't lie to people. He wasn't going to mislead anybody. This is how it was. This is how we're going to do it, and it's going to work because we're going to work hard at it. And just an authentic individual. This has been an awesome night to be able to hear, and I think for the coaching community to be able to hear these stories, for anybody that wasn't able to make it to the visitation, and just to spread his legacy, and let that live on through our stories. So Matt and I thank you for being willing to come on. I know it's not always easy, but being willing to come on and share, and just let the legacy of Bruce Larson live on, for all of us as coaches to hear it over and over again, and hopefully learn something from it, pull something from it, and use what we learned from him in our own coaching styles.
Oh, we appreciate it.
I just want to say thanks too, quick guys, as well. I mean, it's, Reggie, we played this year. Rocky, I've never met you, but I almost feel like I'm part of the family with what you're able to share, and so many stories and so many memories, and the impact that's been that your father's made. So thank you again so much for joining us and sharing that stuff tonight. This has by far been my favorite episode we've ever done.
Well, I really appreciate it. And like I said, I listened to you guys. Like I said, listen to the John O. That was fantastic. And it's really cool that we get a chance to come on and share a story. And it's just, we need to catch up. And it's just, miss him every day. He's great, and the whole community misses him every day. But we're better because he was here.
And know that the entire coaching community is here for you guys, and the WFCA and everybody. They like you talked about your dad in the Hall of Fame. That I think that day is coming very soon, and you'll get an opportunity to enshrine him and be a part of that. So thanks again, and we hope that everybody out there enjoyed hearing the story of Bruce Larson, and hopefully you tune in next week and continue learning about some of the coaches that we've had in our state. Once again, this episode of the Fall Guys podcast is sponsored by WFCA Player Profiles and Epic Recruiting. WFCA Player Profiles and Epic Recruiting is the premier source for helping the recruiting process for WFCA Combine participants. WFCA Player Profiles and Epic Recruiting is highly endorsed by D1, D2, and D3 college coaches. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Fall Guys podcast. We hope you join us next week as we continue to bring you the stories of those who have helped shape the Wisconsin football landscape. We'll catch you next week.